Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another fabulous Friday Ramblings. I'm your host, the Bardic one, aka David, and it's time to discuss some more Dragon Quest. Now, in the previous video that we did several weeks ago, we discussed a bunch of the one or two-part spin-off games. Some of which had never left Japan, or if they did, it was, well, they sent the sequel over to America, but the original. And it's a lot of games that if you're a Dragon Quest fan, you know about them, but for the casual fan, they were really easy to overlook. And as I said, most of them were done as one-offs, maybe 2 games in a set. But I had mentioned there was one more spin-off that, because of its how big it is, that it was the spin-off with the most titles under its belt, we were going to go ahead and give it its own video. Because it's such a highly significant spin-off and there's so much to get into, and that video is now. That is this video. So, for those of you who love to click the titles and think about them and research them before you click the video, yes, we are discussing Dragon Quest Monsters. Now let's go ahead and get the craziness out of the way first. For the record, yes, if you go looking up this stuff and research it further and hunt these games down on your favorite used game purchasing websites or flea markets or whatever, first 2 games we're going to discuss are officially called in America Dragon Warrior Monsters because of the legal copyright stuff that went on for the majority of the franchise's history here in America. To once again just reiterate real quick for people, before the first Dragon Quest video game was imported to America, a different company had gotten a copyright on the term Dragon Quest for use in a board game, but that applied to basically games in general at that point in time, and as such they could not use the term Dragon Quest, which is what the series had been called in Japan, here in America, so they renamed it Dragon Warrior. Eventually, because the board game ceased production after enough years, the copyright expired, and the American games have since converted to using the Dragon Quest title. But for the record, Dragon Warrior is Dragon Quest. I generally refer to the franchise as Dragon Quest just for the sake of consistency, which I will do in this video. But yes, you will see online the official titles are Dragon Warrior Monsters for these first few games in the series. So, what is Dragon Warrior Monsters? Dragon Warrior Monsters is a series of games that are put out entirely on consoles, except for some of the re-releases. But yes, or not consoles. Are primarily put out on portable gaming systems, except for some of the remakes which have been put out on consoles. That is how that sentence should have been structured. Blech. I'm just so excited because, again, this is a spin-off series that I have played multiple games in. I love this because here's the key thing. It is not simply, hey, Dragon Warrior with some different plots. This is Dragon Quest's answer to Pokemon. That's right. But highly similar to the Pokemon series, the Dragon Quest Monster series is based around you recruiting monsters and using them in combat, as well as seeing not so much evolution, but a much more detailed and in-depth breeding system, where you not only unlock different species that cannot be captured in the wild, or if they can, it's very, very, very late in the game when you're basically just doing your breeding to unlock the best of the best monsters. but breeding allows you to get access to those high-class monsters earlier on, but breeding gives them better stats, making for stronger monsters. Basically, you could have a Draki, which is a classic monster from the Dragon Quest series. You could have a Draki that is caught in the wild that is level 5, or you could have a Draki that you bred that is level 5, and the bred one will have better stats, and more importantly, have a higher level up cap, which means they will continue to grow for longer. This is a key component of the games, not only because, as I said, it is the only way to get access to some of the highest level monsters with the greatest growth potentials and best attack techniques. More importantly is that it is almost impossible to beat the game without using bred monsters because of those level caps and relatively low stats of wild monsters. Capturing monsters in the wild is a great start, especially in the early levels of the game, but once you unlock the ability to breed monsters, you will be using very quickly almost exclusively bred monsters because of all those advantages. Now, the other mechanic that makes the Dragon Quest Monster series thematic, I'm blah 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 again, I'm not really structuring my sentences great. Alright, the second part of me. The other major mechanic that is present throughout the Dragon Quest Monster series, since each one is basically its own self-contained storyline, is that there is always a tournament that you have to compete in to unlock bigger and better areas to explore. In the early games, these were referred to as the Starry Night Tournament. And again, this is where breeding can really make the game progress continue at a faster pace basis, as your opponents will be fielding monsters that are going to be challenging for the monsters you would have at this point in the game, and as such, it is extremely difficult to beat them with pure caught in the wild monsters. You are going to want to bring your best bred monsters to it, as during the tournament, unlike out in the wild, you do not have the option of giving your monsters specific instructions in battle. You basically have to let them go at it and do their best with what you've given them as far as what techniques they learn. Now, it should be noted for fans that while, yes, technically the earliest Pokemon games, so-called Gen 1, did come out previous to Dragon Warrior Monsters, before Pokemon Gen 1 came out, Dragon Quest V, also known as Dragon Quest Hands of the Heavenly Bride, did feature a mechanic where in parts of the game you can capture various monsters and recruit them into your active party. Although this was not done with the intent of your main character not fighting, he fights with his monsters, and it is a mechanic that is not used excessively throughout the game. One can certainly argue, as many fans online have, that that base idea mechanic of you beat up a monster, the monster joins you after the fact, was introduced in a Dragon Quest game. No shame to Pokemon. Pokemon took it way beyond to the super next level. Dragon Warrior Monsters just kind of said, okay, well, we were playing around the mechanic already. You guys shown that people really like the mechanic and aren't really ready to go whole hog in it, so we're going to put our twist on it. So, having said all that, let's start breaking down the individual games. Hold on. Make sure I got my notes here. Got my props. Lovely visual aids here. Alright, debuting in September of 1998 in Japan and January of 1999 in North America, as well as Europe. We first start off with the original Dragon Warrior Monsters on the Game Boy Color. Actually, that's not even color. That's original Game Boy, isn't it? Yeah. That is an original game. No, it is Game Boy Color cartridge. Yeah. That's right, because the original Game Boys were all monochromatic gray. Excuse me, it is in color. It is Game Boy Color. That's why I have the notes to the side, folks. But yes, this is my cartridge that I have owned since 1998. Or excuse me, 1999, when I purchased the game. That is impressive. That means this little buddy has been in my library for over, my game library, for over 20 years. I love this game. Mwah. Now, obviously, being a spin-off of the game, let's go ahead and throw this out there once again. All monsters in the Dragon Warrior Monsters series are culled from the main series Dragon Quest games. Now, the glory of all this is that, besides being a major boon for the fans, frankly, it makes the games a little easier on the programming side because you already have existing character sprites for most of your interactions. One of the amusing things they did with Dragon Quest Monsters 1, or Dragon Warrior Monsters, was that in this game, instead of creating 100% original characters, these are actually alternate reality, younger counterparts to Terry and Millie from Dragon Quest VI. I will not get into too much discussion about the Dragon Quest VI versions of them because that will be a future video. That is also an excellent game, one of my favorites in the core series. So, it's a fun stand-in for people that have played that game to see variants of two very familiar and iconic characters. Terry is one of the most popular characters of the entire Dragon Quest franchise, as he has shown up in other spin-offs that we mentioned in our previous videos, such as such as Dragon Quest Heroes, which is good times. So, it's just such a nice cover. Look at that. You see young, pudgy, alternate reality Terry and all his little monster friends that are going to help him on his quest. So real quick, I'm going to go ahead and break out this mechanic because this is coming through the rest of the games. Instead of doing type formats like Pokemon, where you have kind of a rock, paper, scissor, you know, this type's super great against this type, but it's super weak against this type. Dragon Quest Monsters sticks closer to the classic RPG battling system where, okay, certain types of critters may be weak to certain kinds of attacks, like, oh, dragons are, you know, cold-blooded reptiles. They don't like ice attacks. Or, oh, this species tends to be really weak against straight physical attacks instead of magic. So what they did is they broke it down into families based on the fact that the creatures all had some sort of artistic theme, such as the slime family, where you have like slime, she slime, metal slime, slime king, spot slime, spotted slime king, metal slime king, slime knight, drake slime, all well and good fun. You also have things like the devil family, the zombie family, the material family, the bird family, and, again, slight spoilers, but it's something in all the games. The biggest fun of all is that some of those monsters that I said can only be achieved through breeding. Oh, if you do the most breeding, you do several generations deep breeding of specific characters, you unlock the hidden family. Presented in the game as question marks. The boss family. That's right, all the big, bad, threatening to destroy or enslave the world bosses from the core series games that had been released up to that point, for whichever given game you're playing, are their own family, which means you can breed them in, you can play as them. That is, oh man, that is so much fun. These are just such stacked creatures. And they are in this one, the first one, because as we said, this game came out after the first 6 Dragon Quest games, so you had 6 games worth of boss monsters to recruit and beat down other players with. So, what's the basic plot of this that I can give you without those awful spoilers? We don't like your Roulette Productions. Well, simply put, Terry's sister is kidnapped by a monster from the Kingdom of Great Log. Terry is almost immediately met by a monster from the similar Kingdom of Great Tree, who explains to him that if Terry learns how to be a great monster master and wins the Starry Night tournament, he can use the reward, which is basically any wish you want granted, to get his sister back. This means Terry goes through the kingdoms, saving the day, beating various challenges, and unwrapping all the mysteries of Great Tree. And more importantly, finding his sister so they can go home and be happy together. Now, this game did so well that they decided to make a sequel. Obviously, because that's what we're discussing. 2 years later, well, 2.5, because in fall of 2001, North America saw the release of Dragon Warrior Monsters 2. Now here's where it gets a little weird, okay? Technically, this is Dragon Warrior Monsters 2 Kobe's Journey. This is the one thing where I'm going to say Enix made a mistake in how they handled the franchise. Like a few other franchises did to try to piggyback off Pokemon and its incredible sales, Dragon Quest Monsters 2 went for the 2-cartridge approach, in which some monsters only appear in one version of the game, some only appear in the other version of the game, some excuse me, gotta remember my terminology here for the game. Some gates, which is the combat area where you recruit your monsters and beat up the bosses, do your side quests. Some gates only appear in one of the 2 games, the other version being Terra's Adventure. In this, Kobe and Terra are siblings who are teaming up to save the world. If you get Kobe's Journey, you play as Kobe. If you get Terra's Adventure, you play as Terra. As far as being a monster master goes, they're interchangeable. The key is which gates you'll get, which monsters you're more likely to encounter in the wild. And of course, like the Pokemon games, you can trade those keys and exclusive monsters back and forth. Again, I've had this cartridge since the game came out in 2001. Actually, to be fair, since it came out in fall of 2001, I think I actually didn't get it till early 2002. But I did get the Kobe's Journey version. Cousin of mine got Terra's Adventure, and we did trade our exclusive gate access back and forth with each other, which is the biggest exclusive thing. Because as I said, all monsters can eventually appear in any given copy of the game through breeding. Some are just more common in one version than the other. But, so this is a Kobe's Journey that has the Terra's Adventure content unlocked. Now, as I said, I always considered that a mistake because it's one of my biggest annoyances with Pokemon. Even in the original Gen 1 games, it encourages you to fill out the Pokédex. You gotta catch them all, but you can't do that with one copy of the game. You either have to have a cousin or a friend or other family member who agrees to buy the other version and lets y'all two trade back and forth, which unfortunately, because of certain things like, well, the starting Pokemon can only be gotten, once per game file. For each of you to have all 3 of the starting Pokemon, there's a lot of trade, play the game up to a certain point, give you my starter, reset the game, give you... It's a lot of meh. It's like this. If you're part of a community, if you're old enough to live in a big city or something, or have a bunch of friends at school or whatever playing them, yeah, you could sit there and everybody kind of trade with everybody and lessen some of that resetting aspect, but it's still kind of a drag if you're trying to get all the Pokemon. And again, that's just Gen 1, when there was only 150 and a handful of exclusives in each game. Nowadays, it's just whew, whew. And I know, well, nowadays you have Wi-Fi trading. You don't have to have a friend and track somebody down personally. You can go on the internet app trading. Look, I know I've got some of the later Pokemon games where the internet trading was a thing. It's still not perfect because you got to find somebody that's got the Pokemon you want and is willing to give them up. It's a hassle. And then, of course, you have the Pokemon that only evolve when they trade, so you got to trade them to your buddy, let the evolution trigger, trade them back again. It's just, And they tried that with this. Wasn't quite as much emphasis on the trading. There was a little less exclusive content per track, but they did it, and it hampered the second game, in my opinion. Now, in the second game, here's your real spoiler-free plot real quick. The 2 siblings are in Great Log, the antagonistic city from the first game, and are now trying to... are trying to prevent it from sinking when the Prince of the Kingdom accidentally... Yes, this is the game. It's kind of a silly plot, but you don't care because you're playing as fun monsters and exploring, really interesting worlds. Is doop-a-doo-doo, he pops the cork. Yeah, the kingdom is basically literally a log floating in the ocean, and he popped a little cork at the bottom. So Terra and Kobe have to journey through all these different gates to these different worlds, trying to find an object that can replace the cork that, after it got popped, kind of broke. It's a silly plot, but you don't care once you start playing the game because you're just so enraptured with the game. Oh, one thing I should also note about these 2 early games in the series: both of these games had another mechanic that harken back to classic Dungeon Explorer games. And that is, while the gates are all... Every time you go through a given gate, and you can revisit gates as much as you want, each given gate is only going to be the same size. Its layout is randomized every time you go through the gate. Which means you can't really speedrun this game in the mindset of, oh, I've memorized the layout of every gate. You can't, because it's randomized. So that makes the grinding and breeding aspect a little more fun because you're not constantly revisiting the exact same layout every time you go through a gate to look for a given monster you need for your breeding path, or you're just plain leveling up on those easier gates till your monster is strong enough and old and leveled up enough to help you out. Now, here's where things get a little goofy. Dragon Quest Monsters 3, aka Dragon Quest Monsters Caravan Heart, was developed for the Game Boy Advance, but was never released outside of Japan, though you can find fan translation patches if you would like. Which means I do not have this game, I have not played this game. The basic story is the game puts you in the shoes of a young alternate reality Kiefer from Dragon Quest VII, similar to the first game being a version of Terry. Kiefer upsets his father and flees to his room in hope of escaping punishment. Ends up finding a traveler's gate in his room, finding himself transported to the world of Dragon Quest II, and assumes the role of a caravan leader in order to help a boy named Lewin find a cure for his sick parents. Now, as I said, I can't really speak much about this game personally because I haven't played it, but it's the same goodness from the early games. Except in this game, instead of being a lone hero traveling through these gates, you are leading a caravan, and which acts as a mobile base for the player throughout the course of the game, instead of bouncing back to your hub city, Great Log, Great Tree, constantly. Camp itself contains an assortment of different tents that vary and increase depending on caravan members and the spot the camp has been set up in when you do stop and take breaks. Now, after that, you'd think we're done, right? Nope. Nope, because they decided to refresh the franchise. How did they do that? Well, they went from the classic 2D of the Dragon Quest Monster series and the first 6 games in the Dragon Quest Core series to a 3D style game, which harkened back to the recently released 7 and 8. It also came out on the Nintendo DS by this point, so we're moving to a new portable console. So, in order to emphasize that they had kind of rebuilt the series from the ground up, they decided to tweak the title, and you now have Dragon Quest Monsters Joker. Yep, they added another word to the title to reflect that this is an advancement in the core mechanic. Your base battle system is going to be the same. You make up your party of your favorite monsters, you breed them to make stronger monsters. However, like 7 and 8, it continued to tweak the formula of your base Dragon Quest experience in that Joker does not have the random battles seen in the original Monster series. The only way to encounter enemies is to run into one on the overworld. This means the monsters can be seen, avoided, and attacked from their back to get a free attack round. Later on, you get the classic Whistle ability, which draws enemies to you, meaning you can cut down how much time you are chasing them down to trigger combat. Now, the game takes place in a region known as Green Bays, consisting of 7 islands, where you use a jet ski to travel from one island to another with specific paths defined for every couple of piers. However, occasionally, while traveling from island to island, the main character may notice uncharted islands beyond some of the main islands. Chances for this are completely random and are not located on the main map. This basically adds some more variety to gameplay. So we lost a lot of the randomizing elements. The dungeon layouts are going to stay the same every time. When we move to 3D, you now have much more control over when you fight. So there is a more strategic element to the game. It's kind of 50-50. I highly enjoy Joker for what it is, but I'm also me. I'm an old man. I like my nostalgia. I like my 2D games. This is why I'm currently playing Dragon Quest XI in 2D mode. That's my nostalgia. That's my childhood. That's what Dragon Quest really feels like to me. Nothing against the 3D games, but if I have the choice like 11 gives me, I'm going to lean more towards that style of gameplay and visuals. Still, Joker does a good job of taking up the reins of what Dragon Quest Monsters 1, 2, and 3 did right and taking it to the next level. The other major big component change is that Joker gets rid of the idea of the boss family, instead taking the bosses and spreading them across the other main families, meaning that they are now the secret monster bred as part of that family line of primary breeding. I know, that's a lot of almost redundancy thing. The other main new in this is that there is an exclusive boss family featuring a monster that is not from the core games called the Incarni. In Joker, Incarni is introduced to you as your initial monster and one who is intelligent enough to use human speech, is kind of a guardian spirit of your main hub island, and as such serves almost as a halfway point between the monsters and your classic human party members you would have in a standard RPG game. You can then, over time, breed your Incarni with different specific monsters to cause the Incarni to appear in different forms with different attacks, which is all good. It allows him to still be bred like a regular monster, but he has specific attacks to him. So, that's all good. Oh yeah, real quick, sorry I forgot to throw this out. Dragon Quest Joker was released in North America in November of 2007. So, they did take a few years to work on this. So did the new direction do good? Yes, it did, because in 2011, 4 years later, we got a sequel. Look at that. Joker 2. DQM. Joker 2. Yay! And Joker 2 gameplay follows closely to the original Joker. Players exploring islands to find and recruit and build the ultimate monster party. Which is all good. This time, you are actually finding yourself crash landed on a mysterious island, and you are recruiting the monsters to help you survive in the more wild aspects of the island and the neighboring islands as you try to find supplies you need to escape the island. So instead of more of a freeform, hey, let's just kind of protect the world and become a great monster master, this game puts more of a survival aspect to it. You're trying to escape where you're at currently. You weren't supposed to be there. You don't want to be there. You're doing whatever you can to get back to the life you've always known and the world you've always known. Now, it should be noted that both Joker games have Wi-Fi support, allowing you to compete with other players or breed monsters with other players. You also have the option of breeding giant monsters in this game, which are massive creatures that take all 3 monster spots but are incredibly powerful. So you can kind of swap things up with that, mix up your strategies of, hey, I'll just build one super ultra mega tank monster and just boom, plow through my enemies, but I better hope they don't have good teamwork and chip away my health and wipe out my mega giant. Ultimately, though, as I said, game did good things, but we fell into a familiar trap, and that is, well, there was a third Dragon Quest Monsters Joker game. It was never released outside of Japan. It came out in 2016. And is for the 3DS, which is sad. Enjoying the Joker series and how it advanced all the mechanics of the original game and added some new stuff even from Joker. Yeah, I would have liked to see the third one. I'd have liked to get my hands on it. Sad times for me personally as a player, and I know a lot of Dragon Quest fans in America. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll get lucky. Let's bug Enix, bug Nintendo, get us like a Switch compilation, put the whole Joker trilogy on the Switch. Why not? Hey, because honestly, and again, I'm going to get in a little bit of a soapbox here just for a second. I would rather have a compilation of the games just as they were originally presented than, all on one disc, out of respect for the fact that they are older games, and I'm sure, I don't know, well, they're not even really discs anymore. Switch has the cards similar to the DS 3DS, which, use the flash memory, which is wonderful technology, but yeah, they're not really discs anymore. But as I was saying, I'm sure you could fit all 3 games on a single Switch card. So why not do that instead of trying to do remakes and revamps and remasters? No, just put the games together. The whole point is we want the game that didn't come out in America previously on the previous system. So it's like, hey, if you're going to do that, if you got the space on the card, let's go ahead and throw the other 2 games in. For the people that never got a chance to play them on the DS, just boom, all the Dragon Quest Monsters Joker you can handle. That's what I say. As a real quick wrap up note, it's definitely time to leave. My tongue is starting to rebel against me. We have Dragon Quest Monsters Super Light, which was an Android/iOS role-playing game published in 2014 that was only seen in Japan and saw a end of service date in December of 2016, so it ran for 2 years. Unfortunately, being a mobile game, the biggest thing with Super Light is that you can only explore so many dungeons and therefore do so much recruiting and breeding each given day because of a stamina system. It's a mobile game, the so-called casual genre. They do this. But for the sake of covering the entire series, I did want to throw Super Light in there, even though it is Japanese exclusive and it was a mobile game. As I said, we're being thorough. We're not being judgmental and leaving anybody out. So, as I said, if you can get your access to some used games and you got a functional Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance that'll play these, you know what? Give either one of these games a try. Especially the first one because you don't have that double cartridge system. You got a DS or 3DS. Check out either one of these games. They're both great. You don't have to play the first one to play the second one. They're standalone storylines. But I would recommend playing the first one first because I would recommend playing both of them. And if you're going to play both of them, might as well play the first one first. You can appreciate the changes that the second one brought about to try to keep things freshened up. All goodness. Either way, I'm going to go ahead and say it. After our previous spin-off video, these games are the best Dragon Quest spin-off games. Hands down. Whew. And I do like my Dragon Quest Swords as a one-off game. It has some cute characters, you know, interesting mechanic there with the classic arcade rail shooter influence. But for RPG fans, especially for Pokemon fans that have dabbled in Dragon Quest, these are the games. Whoop! I'll just go with that one then. These are the games for you. These are games you will be able to pick up and play and understand the mechanics of quickly and fall in love with. For now, though, I've taken up enough of your time. There's only so much I can say about these games without getting into too many spoilers, because we do not do spoilers here. We do not tell you so much you feel that you don't need to get involved with the entertainment stuff I'm talking to you about. Because I want you to play the games. I want you to watch the movies. I want you to read the comics and the books. That's what we're all about here at Roulette Productions. And the Friday Ramblings is giving you just enough to get you thinking, to get you curious, to get you interested. So, come on back in 7 days. In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe. Keep viewing in. Keep your eye out for those next videos because, you know, over time, we're going to discuss some more Dragon Quest because, you know what? We have 11 games in the core series to discuss. I'm not going to say every single one's going to be their own video, but we're definitely going to highlight the games more than just doing one big rush video over all 11 games. I might do that as an intro and then go into super detail later. But we're going to be doing more Dragon Quest. We're going to talk about other video games. We're going to talk about those movies, those comic books, those novels, the TV shows. We're going to do it all. Because if it's entertainment, it can be rambled about. But just remember, we're not going to discuss things that inspire hate. We're not going to discuss things that cause angry ranting. Because the ramblings are about fun. That's why we play these games. Because these games are fun. We love our games. Mwah. Mwah. Love them. Dragon Quest is hitting a big anniversary this year. Is rolling out information about Dragon Quest 12, so we're going to roll out our love for Dragon Quest and everything else in between. And in the meantime, in between times, I am David. I am the Bardic One. This is Roulette Productions. besides the Friday Ramblings, I have the Bardic Plays game streams, which go live on Tuesday, and have archives right here on this channel where you watch the Ramblings. So if you keep your eyes double peeled, you can see it all. For now, though, we've gone a little over our usual time for rambling, but these games are just so much fun to talk about. So I'm going to let y'all go off. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening whenever you're watching the video. Be good. Come back next time, and you'll see what random thing we ramble about. Bye-bye.